Hello, amazing students. Let's begin our box and whisker plot worksheet. These are called box and whisker plots because there is a box and then there's usually two whiskers. Sometimes the whiskers can be very long, sometimes the whiskers can be very small. As you can see, this is a box and whisker plot as well. Today we should learn how to draw them, what they represent, and a few other calculations. So keep in mind a graphing calculator is needed, and there is another note that we added here that x bar mean is the mean or average of the data. So if we wanted to calculate average, your calculator can do this as long as you find where x bar is. I will show that at the end of this video. Number 1. The box and whisker plot below shows the volunteer service hours performed by students at Indian Trail Middle School last summer. So as we can see, the number of hours that they served was between 13 and 27 hours. And some people had data in between that, meaning they did serve some hours in between 13 and 27. So let's answer these 4 questions based on these service hours and this whisker plot, box and whisker plot. Question A, what is the median of the data set? The median is going to be 20. It's the number that's in the middle of our box. What is the lower quartile of the data set? The lower quartile is going to be the lowest part of our box. So right there, it's what number do you see right there at the lowest quartile or the lower quartile? It's going to be right in between 16 and 17. So we're going to say 16.5. So again, the lower quartile is the lowest part of our box. What is the upper quartile of the data set? The upper quartile is the largest number in our box, which is 23. Now here's a tougher question. What percentage of data is between the lower quartile and the upper quartile? So out of all these numbers, look, check this out. Out of all these numbers, what percentage is between those two quartiles out of all of the data? So we're going to go ahead and find out what percent is in the yellow versus what percent is in the entire data. So here's what we have to do. We need to find out how wide this data is. How much data is in here? We're going to see that it's between 16.5 and 23. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find the range of this box. How wide is this box? I'm going to go ahead and do 20, oh, not 27, right? I'm going to do 23 minus 16.5. Again, this is for the yellow section, which is how much data is between the lower and upper quartile. And this is going to be out of the entire range of the data. So it's going to be, the entire range is going to be from 13 to 27. So I'm going to do 27 minus 13 to figure out how wide that data is. So what I get is 23 minus 16.5.
The answer is 6.5.
Okay, so that means that this section right here is 6.5 wide. $27 minus 13.
The answer is 14.
And that means that the entire range is 14. So I'm going to keep in mind this is going to be the range, the entire range. And this is going to be it's called the, if you can write this down, it's called the interquartile range. So the interquartile range is the yellow between the quartiles. And the range is the entire range. How wide is the entire data set? So what percent is the question? It's asking what percentage of data is between the lower quartile and the upper quartile. It's going to be 6.5. 6.5 divided by 14.
The answer is approximately 0.4642.
Which we know is about 46.42%. Now you can ask yourself, does that look about right? Based on the image, does it look like this is about 46% of the entire thing? So it's about half. I think that answer does make sense. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to try number 2. What is the median of the following box and whisker plot? What percentage of the data is below the median? Tackle this on your own. We'll pause the video here. Okay, so the median for the median, did you get your middle number of 35? If you got that, nicely done. The median is 35. And then it asks us what percentage is below the median. So we're talking about what percentage is just below the median. So we needed to figure out how wide this section is. You can see it visually, but what I'm going to do is you can either count how wide that is. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and figure out that it's 35 minus 25. And out of the entire range, that's going to be 50 minus 25. So that gives us 35 minus 25.
That would be 10.
This is 10 wide. And 50 minus 25.
The answer is 25.
So this is our answer, but it needs to be written as a percentage. So I'm going to go ahead and 10 divided by 25.
The answer is 0.4.
Divide those two. And when I divide those two, it will give me an answer of 40%. Remember, this is not 4%, but 40%. Which, does it look visually like it's 40%? The answer is yes. Does it look like it's 4%? That green section? No, 4% would be way too small. So that's why we should remember to always move the decimal over 2 places when converting decimals to percents. All right, number 3. What are the 5 values, these 5 dots? Why are there 5 dots? What are the 5 values that make up a box and whisker plot? Okay. The first value that makes up the box and whisker plot is going to be the lowest number. So that's going to be the minimum. The minimum is going to be the lowest value in the data set. Our next value is going to be the second dot, which is going to be Q1. We call that the lower quartile. Write that down. Q1 is the lower quartile. So remember how back here we wrote down this is called the interquartile range. It's including quartile 1. So the lower quartile is actually defined as the median or the middle, of the lower half of the data set. Now it's important to note, is it always visually in the middle? No, like if this is in the middle of those two dots, then we would have done something wrong. It's not that it's the middle of the data visually, it's because the numbers that make up this box plot are coming from a set of numbers similar to what we have here. So the numbers that go in our box plot are dependent on the numbers or values that we can collect. All right, our next value is going to be the median. The median is defined as the value in the middle of the data set. And this is where 50% of the data is above and 50% of the data is below the median. All right, our next one is going to be Q3. By the way, Q2, there's a, you know how we go from Q1 to Q3? Well, Q2 is also defined as the median. Okay, Q3, that's the upper quartile. Okay, so just like the upper quartile, we'd used that earlier with finding our interquartile range. We are using the fourth dot, which is the end of our box right there. And just like the lower quartile, the upper quartile is the median of the upper half of the data set. And finally, we have the maximum. The last number in our data is called the maximum, which is the highest value in a data set. Okay, now these numbers are so important that in statistics they call it something. So number 4 says the 5 values in question 3, these 5 right here, are called what? So if you've seen it before, you're exactly right. The answer is these 5 numbers are always called the 5-number summary. Once you're ready, flip your papers to the other side. So here we go, number 5. What is the 5-number summary of the following box? Let's find what the lowest number is. So the minimum is going to be 58. Right there, the minimum, I'll just say MIN. Quartile 1 is going to be 70. I'll just say Q1, the lower quartile. The median is this number right here. The median is going to be, looks like 77. I'll say median. The upper quartile, aka quartile 2, Q2, is going to look like 86, or is it 81? No, it's 80, 86. That's Q3. And finally, our maximum number in the data looks like the farthest number right it goes is going to be 96. And we'll say that that's the max. Okay, so a 5-number summary is just written as a list of numbers with commas in between them, and it's a great idea to label which one is which. Next up, number 6, we are going to find the 5-number summary of these data points right here. Our first step is to order them from least to greatest. So what I want to do is order these data points from least to greatest. So I'm going to get 2, 3. It's a good idea to put check marks on them so you don't miss any numbers. 2, 3, 3, 4, 6, 6, 7. So again, we just ordered them from least to greatest. Now check out how easy this part is. The minimum is going to be the lowest number. The minimum is 2. The maximum is 7. The median is the middle number. So what I like to do is I like to grab a highlighter or a check mark on each of these. I put one on the right, one on the left. We're trying to find the middle. One on the right, one on the left. One on the right, one on the left. Look where we're at. That's the median. That's the median right there. So 4 is going to be the median. So the minimum was 2. The maximum was 7. The max, and I think I'm mixing up the order here. The median is 4. And what about Q1 and Q3? So keep in mind, we're only going to be able to find the quartile 1 if we can find the middle of the lower half of our data. So what's the middle of our lower half? We're going to find the lower half and the upper half. All we have to do is split our data into 2 sections after the median. So we're going to have 2, 3, 3. What's the middle of that data? The middle number is 3. So that's Q1 is 3. And the middle of our second half of the data is going to be 6, which is Q3. So look at that list of numbers. We have, let's just put those numbers on a number line. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our maximum value is 7. Our minimum value was 2. Our median was 4. And our quartiles were 3 and 6. So we just have to put a box, a line, and 2 whiskers, and that's our answer. All right, our last piece is how do you find the 5-number summary using a graphing calculator? See if you recall how to find the 5-number summary of a graphing calculator. Okay, so just right now we figured out how to find the 5-number summary by hand. We split our data into 2. We found our minimum, our maximum. We found our median, which is the middle. And we found the middle of our 2 halves. How do we figure this out with a graphing calculator? So here is our first step. Let's go to stat. Stat is to figure out anything to do with statistics using your graphing calculator, or most of it. So press stat. Next step, press edit. We want to actually enter these numbers into our graphing calculator. If you have already a list of numbers in L1, you want to go ahead and clear that by going up and clear. So I'm going to do that again. Stat, edit, and then clear your list. You clear your list by going up and pressing the clear button. So I'm going to press the clear button and enter. It's going to clear my data. In this list, I want to go ahead and enter these 7 numbers. I'll go 2, enter, 3, enter, 3, enter, 4, enter, 6, enter, 6, enter, and 7, enter. It's important not to miss any of those numbers. So I can just double check. Did I write my list correctly? 2, 3, 3, 4, 6, 6, 7. That's correct. Now our next step is to go ahead and press the Stat button again. Stat. Go over to where it says Calc. That's going to do some calculations. Calc, and press the first option in our graphing calculator. It says 1 var stats, which is 1 variable statistics. We're going to press that by pressing enter. Enter. And check this out. Our first value, that's actually going to be our mean or our average. But if we scroll down, check this out. What do you see? The minimum is 2, which we have here. Quartile 1 is 3, which we have here. The median is 4, which we have here. Quartile 3 is 6. And finally, quartile 7 is right there where it says max x. So using a graphing calculator is incredibly important, because what if you have an odd number of numbers in your value? What if it's an even amount of numbers in your list? It's a little bit different when you have different amounts of numbers in your list, and using a graphing calculator makes it easier. All right, for number 7, I would like for you to try this yourself. It is possible to do this by hand, but you can also try to do it in a calculator. So for this first one, we're going to go ahead and press Stat, Edit, clear our list by going up, clear, enter, again Stat, Edit, go up to the list, press clear if there's any data there, and press enter. It'll clear everything for you. So we're going to enter these numbers into list 1. 1, 2, 5, 6, 9, 12, 7, 10. Now these numbers in your graphing calculators do not need to be in order, but typically if you're doing this by hand, you would. It's very necessary to put it into the correct order, like this. Just double checking that you have written and not skipped any numbers. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 9. Oh, there we go. You see how I missed a number there? I missed the number 10. So it's very important to not miss any numbers, otherwise the answers will be incorrect. So let's see, just double check the calculator. 1, 2, 5, 6, 9, 12, 7, 10. Okay. So now we'll press Stat, Calc, option 1, enter, and here we go. We're going to scroll down because this does ask us to create a box and whisker plot, so we do need the 5-number summary. The minimum is 1. The maximum is 12. The median is 6.5, as you can see right there. It's 6.5 is because the middle is actually going to be the average of 6 and 7, so it's going to be 6.5. Quartile 1 is 3.5, which is the average of these two right there. And quartile 3 it shows as 9.5, which is the average of those two right there. So as you can see, it's a lot easier to use a graphing calculator to come up with this list of numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the numbers 1 through 12. I'll put a dot on 1, a dot on 12, a dot on 3.5, 6.5, and 9.5. I'll put a box around quartile 1 and quartile 3, and our whiskers right there. I'm missing something though. What's the difference between this one and this one, right? The only difference that I have is we do have our box and whiskers, but most of the time we do need to put a little split there where the median is. And that's number 7. Okay, for number 8, it's asking us to find the mean, median, mode, and also the range of the following set of data after finding the 5-number summary. So our first task is to put them in order. So I'm going to try to do my best to put these numbers in order. So, and there's a lot of repeats, so I'm going to use a check mark for every number that I include. So 2, 3, putting them in order is 4. What's next? 6, 7, 7, 7, 7. There's 4 7s. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8, 9, 11, and 12. And I actually noticed I missed a 6. 6 repeats twice, so I do need to include another 6. So that is an important step. Okay, before I do any of this, I'm going to calculate the 5-number summary. So I'm going to input these numbers into my graphing calculator. Again, does it matter if I put them in the correct order? It doesn't. So graphing calculator doesn't matter, but if I'm doing this by hand, I will need to put them in the correct order from least to greatest. So I'm going to enter these numbers just like I did by hand. Again, does not need to be in order, but I'm going to put them in order just because I did that just now. Again, I'm pressing these numbers pretty quickly because all I have to do is enter the number and press enter into list 1. So again, if you're lost, check this out. What were the steps to do this? I press stat, the stat button. I press edit, which is option 1, so I'll press enter. If my list has any numbers in it, I'm going to press clear and enter. And then I'll need to enter these numbers in one by one by pressing 2 enter, 3 enter, 4 enter, 6 enter, 6 enter, 4 7s, 1 8, 1 9, 1 11, and 1 12. Okay, so now that we have our list of numbers, I'm going to press stat, calc, and one variable statistics. So press enter, enter, and here is a lot of data. The first data is our X bar. X bar is the mean or average. So the average number is going to be 6.8461. We can go ahead and round that to 6.85. That's the average. It tells us that right there, the first thing, because the average is typically one of the most important pieces of data. So I found the mean, the average. The median is going to be the middle number. As you can see, the middle number is definitely going to be 7. So the median is 7. The mode is which number is the most showed. The most showed number. I'm sorry, that was showing off screen. So we had X bar, the mean or average is 6.846, which is the first number in our graphing calculator. The median is going to be the middle number, which is obviously 7 when it's in order. The mode is the most showed. So the most showed number is equal to 7. It's obvious that the most showed number is 7 because there are 7 of them. The range is how wide are these numbers. So the smallest number, the minimum is 2. The maximum is 12. How far apart are these two numbers? So we'll do 12 minus 2 to get 10. That's the range. Okay, our last thing is to just write our 5-number summary. And check out how easy this is. If we go to our graphing calculator, scroll down, look at those 5 numbers that are right there written for us. The minimum is 2. Quartile 1 is 5. The median is 7. Quartile 3 is 8.5. Maximum is 12. And we're done.